All right. Hello, hello, hello. Come on in. Come on in to Just Connect. I am Dr. Natalie Phillips, and I am the host of Just Connect. I am going to get some share action as you guys are coming in. I have a really, really interesting topic that I was thinking about and wanted to talk to you about and share about today. And so I'm hoping that you guys are going to come on and have a great conversation with me because I feel like I want to learn from others and get some great input on this topic of multitasking. So come on in and make sure that you share this out when you come so that other people can kind of join in on the conversation and we can have a great talk about this topic. You know, I started thinking about this post and this episode because, I was actually talking to my son. I was sitting on the bed last night and I was doing some work and I was talking to my son and we were both doing work. And I thought it was really cool because I quickly finished, did whatever I need to get done. And I thought, oh my gosh, I did it, and I closed my computer and I said, that's your mom, queen of multitasking. And I thought, oh my gosh, wait a minute, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? And it became my topic because I kept thinking about it. And I kept thinking, should I be teaching my kids the importance of multitasking, or should I be more concerned that they maybe should not necessarily learn about multitasking? Because what we've learned in the past of things that we have just kind of thought was a good thing might actually be a bad thing. Another option that I was thinking about too was that, people that tell you, oh my gosh, it's so exhausting, I don't know how you do it, or it's so exhausting to keep up with you. That's not really a compliment. And so, it's one of those things where I'm just thinking, I really don't know if some of the things that we had thought about before that might have been compliments or may have been, things that we thought were a good thing might actually be a bad thing. And so, I am trying to multitask right now because I'm trying to post it in multiple groups to get people to come on in and to really have a conversation with us because I really want to know what you guys think. So Terry Lapierre, good to see you here. I know that you said you're going to come back and catch the replay. Anthony Santangelo. Okay, so great to see you here, Anthony. I miss you a lot. And what you're saying right now is that multitasking can build efficiency. I totally believe that as well. But you know what, Anthony, I did some research and I'm really interested. I'm hoping that you can hang on tonight and make sure that you have this conversation with me, as well as other people that are kind of joining in. If you are on this feed, please share it out because I want to get other people's view on this, because I really thought multitasking was a good thing. And now that you kind of know my past tense of I really thought, you're kind of getting to know what I'm going to talk about. So it was interesting because I was talking about how I got on this topic and how I thought it was a good thing. And I was super proud. And I told my son, yep, I totally did this, this, and this. And that's your mom, queen of multitasking. And I didn't necessarily think after I kind of sat there for a while that it was actually a good thing. So I did some research. And I actually found out it wasn't as good as I thought it was. So research that I looked up found that studies show that you actually lose a lot of time when you have to switch tasks a lot versus repeating the same task. And so that was one research that I found. Another study I found showed that there was a lot of time that was lost on task when the task actually becomes increasingly complex. And so those are some of the research studies that I found. But I wanted to kind of start off with more of the definition. And I wanted to put that up there about the definition of what multitasking is. And this is actually from the American Psychological Association, or the APA, that explains multitasking. And basically what they say is that multitasking can take place when someone tries to perform two tasks simultaneously, or switches from one task to another, or whether they're performing 2 or more tasks in rapid succession. And so I kind of looked that up. Good to see you, Angie. Great to see you. And again, this is what Anthony was saying about multitasking that can build efficiency. And so, with that definition, there's, 3 different things that the American Psychological Association defines as multitasking. And I wanted to just kind of, it made me think about, why do we think, for the people that do think multitasking is good, put it in the comments, whether or not, raise your hand, whether or not you think multitasking is a good thing, and raise your hand. Or I know, how about this? Thumbs up if you think multitasking is a good thing. Thumbs down if you think multitasking is a bad thing. I did some thoughts, and I wanted to put up some myths that I had found too, of why multitasking might be considered, what we believe in, basically. And so one myth is that we feel that it's just normal and accepted that everybody multitasks, and that people do it all the time without even realizing it, and that it's acceptable, or it's even a desired skill. So, for those of you who have been involved in, whether you've interviewed people for a job, or maybe you've gone in to interview for a job, one of the things they ask you, or one of the things that I've even asked people, is, can you multitask? Expecting them to say yes, because you would want to hire somebody that can multitask, right? And so the myth number 1 is that it's normal, accepted, and even desired as a skill. The second myth that I thought about multitasking is that it's good, and it's like smart people and capable people can do it. And so again, going back to my very first reason of why I wanted to talk about this topic, was I was so proud internally to outwardly say to my son, yep, I got this, and this done. That's your mom, queen of multitasking, right? And so necessarily, it's not necessarily a good thing. So Angie, thank you for telling me. Angie says thumbs down. So Angie's vote is multitasking is not a good thing. And people that are coming in, I'm hoping that you kind of weigh in on this as well. All right. So more of the research that I did on multitasking, shows a couple of things. Number 1, that multitasking is actually a bad thing because it causes 40% decline in productivity. And so again, this is according to the American Psychological Association, that multitasking actually makes you not do your job as well. And so again, for me, trying to change that mindset of like, I really thought multitasking was a good thing until I see this, like, wait a minute. It's going to cause a 40% decline in productivity. Okay. That is not anything that anybody that, in a business would want, right? So why are we asking this question of people when they come in to interview about that, right? I'm trying to think. Yes. Angie says, I read that it cannot be done. I have major ADD and it's difficult. You know what, Angie? The more I looked at it into research, the more I found out that the brain is not able to multitask. And that comes to some of my other reasons why it's not really a good thing, or why it is a bad thing. So the first thing, again, was that multitasking can cause 40% decline in productivity. Second thing I found is that people that multitask make twice as many errors. Okay, I am the queen of do it right the first time, do it effectively, efficiently, and do it right. And so do I want errors done? Yes. I mean, I understand that errors get done, that happen. But at the same time, if you know that multitasking, asking your employees or people that you work with or your colleagues to multitask, you can make twice as many errors. I may actually backpedal and not necessarily want that to happen, right? I'm getting more comments come in. All right. So Anthony says, it's a gray area where sometimes it's a good thing to multitask and other times it will cause you to not get anything accomplished. I totally agree. I'm still kind of like weighing in on whether or not I love it because I'm so used to it, or I might be a statistic down in one of my other points that I'm going to come up with, Anthony. It's a good thing sometimes, now you're saying, and maybe at other times it's not. Angie says, same, I thought I was great at multitasking. Yeah, totally. So it's super, super interesting about this, you guys. Okay, so 40% decline in productivity, making twice as many errors. Okay, multitasking can increase stress levels. Okay, who does not want to have their stress levels increase? I don't want it, right? So when you multitask on a regular basis, your brain releases a chemical called cortisol, which if chronic can make susceptible to heart disease, weight gain, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Okay, you guys, the reason why I want to talk about this is because heading into 2020, we have all these lofty goals of what we want to get accomplished, and sometimes, like Anthony said, sometimes we might have to actually multitask. But I want to bring this topic up before we hit 2020 because I want you guys to make sure that you are not going to run yourself ragged in the beginning of the year or throughout the course of the year just to reach the goals that you said you were going to reach. So if multitasking increases stress levels and then can affect your health, right? High blood pressure, it can lead to diabetes and weight gain. This is all the stuff that we also might have goals for our health, being entrepreneurs or being in business. We don't want to have weight gain. We don't want to have high blood pressure, things like that. So be careful about multitasking. That is another fact that I found. Okay. Multitasking leads to a 20% decline in cognitive abilities. Okay, so this is also bad, you guys. I'll talk about this a little bit more too, but we're talking about 40% decrease in productivity, and now we're talking about a 20% decline in cognitive abilities. Okay, yeah, so the more and more I dived deeper into learning about multitasking, the more and more I kind of thought, you know what? I might have to step back and really figure out what am I doing and how am I going to get past this thing of multitasking, or what I thought. Okay, here's where it comes in, Angie, and this is for me, this is for you, right? Anthony, I don't know if this is for you as well too, but people often think that they are better at multitasking than they actually are. All right, so what I found is that 70% of people feel that they are already above average in multitasking. But what happens is when they actually did the research, they found out that they do worse in sorting relevant versus irrelevant details. And then they also have difficulty switching tasks and then are less mentally organized. Okay, so again, even when you feel like you're not multitasking, this kind of stuff about the decreased cognitive abilities, this can actually spread when you're not even multitasking, because what I feel is the brain can get a little lazy. So if you are multitasking and you're kind of spending, bits and pieces of your brain here and there, and you're not totally focused, I feel that, especially for me, where I feel that I want to connect to people, I might forget, or I might not be able to sort the difference between a relevant detail and an irrelevant detail. And to me, that is something that is important when I read that. And so that was something that I thought, okay, yes, I was that 70% that I thought that I was actually really, really good at multitasking. But you know what? It's going to bite me in the behind. And, it's not necessarily going to be helpful for me if I'm going to try to make these connections and these great connections and relationships in the new year. All right. So I never like to talk about a topic without bringing up some options of how you can tackle this. All right. So I've got some tips here for you. Number one, how are we going to tackle this? What can we do? Number one, make a short list of important things to do and check them off. So whether it be like 3 things, let's pick 3 things that you want to do, just important things that you want to get done today. Make it your most important tasks of the day. And don't let anything else come before them until you actually complete that, which might mean for some people, off of social media, no Facebook, email, Twitter, whatever it is. And then what I love to do is when I make a list, I love to cross it out, check it off, whatever, get a big black Sharpie and cross that thing off, because I love the feeling of accomplishment. So if you're going to make a short list of important things, check it off as well so that you get that accomplishment. All right, the second tip I have is maybe you might need to block out periods of time during the day to focus. For some people, it could be 20 minutes. Focus on one thing for 20 minutes, maybe focus on another thing for another 20 minutes. Maybe it's longer. Maybe you set an alarm so that it's an hour that you spend, so you get a really good time. Maybe it's a couple hours. So when you block out periods of time, it allows you to prioritize. It allows you to work on this time management, right? It's about getting more, actually, it isn't about getting more things done in less time, but it's about completing tasks and getting your important things done in the most effective way you can. So focusing on one task at a time can help you get the job done correctly, which is what we want, and also quickly. And so maybe that's another tip too, is to block out periods of time depending on what time period that you feel like you need. Third tip that I have is eliminate distractions. Again, for some people, this might be social media. For some people, this might be digital things like your phone. It might be a certain environment for some people. So eliminating distractions, it might be where you just focus in, don't have any music on or anything like that. Make sure the lighting is good so that you can actually focus. For some people, it might not necessarily mean that you're putting away something, but for some people, eliminating distractions also means maybe you might have to get up and take a short break to get the juices going or the blood flowing or whatever it is. I talked about this in my last episode about stepping away, right, to come back focused again. So again, I'm leading up to this next year. You guys, we only have 3 more weeks of the year, and I really want you to start thinking about what you can do to really try to get that focus ready for 2020. All right. And my last tip, and I love this, is for some people, our mind continues to go. So for some people, that when we lay our pillow down on the bed and all of a sudden all these thoughts come in or all these ideas come into our head, don't forget to write them down. So put a journal by your bed and put a pen down there, or, carry around something. I use my phone a lot and I have my notes on my phone. And whenever I have an idea, I don't want to forget that idea, but I don't want to spend time thinking about it at that time if I'm actually focused on something else. So I write things down, whether they're thoughts or ideas, for later, for me to come back and look at them later. So that is another tip for kind of decreasing the multitasking, but being able to stay more on focus. So again, leading up to the new year, I wanted you guys to think about, I'm going to encourage you to, whether it is, you're setting New Year's resolutions or whether you are picking a word of the year. Again, I want you, if you're going to pick a word of the year, to please put it in the comments or please let me know, because I want to hold you guys accountable, to making sure that we stay focused together and that we hit this 2020, because I feel like it's not just about setting goals, but you have to have the right focus and you have to have the right accountability. And so again, leading into 2020, 3 weeks, you guys, and then it is the new year. So I want you to be thinking about your goals, your resolutions, your word of the year, okay? And I'm starting to get really close on my word of the year. I'm like, I actually wrote it down today because I thought, you know what? I know exactly what I think it's going to be. And so again, I want you guys to share that with me if you want me to help you hold you accountable for that heading into 2020. Some of these comments, I love that. Thank you guys so much for commenting and being part of the conversation. Angie says, I make lists now. I know. And Angie, my question to you is, do you love to check them off just like I do? Do you just love making lists so that you can keep track of everything? Tell me a little bit more about your list and share with us how you keep track of your list. Anthony, that's on here, says, making a list, prioritizing everyone is a great practice. I also cross off things as well. Yep, Anthony, that is so me. I just love getting that and just saying, oh my gosh, I got that done, right? It's the accomplishment. Oh, he says, this is a great tip. He says, use the voice recorder on your phone. It is a great feature to remember your thoughts with tonality. You know what? That is a really great tip, Anthony. I'm so glad you told us that, because it is something, when you're reading words, it's different. But when you have the excitement and the passion behind what you're thinking at that moment, I love that voice recorder tip, Anthony, because I think that's so right. Because as you're thinking about it, you might have a certain inflection or tonality that you have, and it might remind you of exactly where you were in your mindset when you made that note. So I love that. So thank you guys so much for sharing. If you are catching this on the replay, please also add in any of your comments that might help you focus as we're heading into the new year. All right. So Angie comes back and says, oh, yes, I love to cross things out. And thank you guys so much. Oh my gosh. And Angie also uses a voice recorder to do your mindset routine. So you guys, this is awesome. So thank you guys so much for sharing what you do. Again, if you are not on the live and you're going to catch the replay, go through. I tried to make sure I had all the different points up there to make sure that you knew, what we were talking about multitasking, maybe some of the myths that we covered, and then also some tips that you guys can use, as well as some tips from our listeners and our watchers, our viewers. So again, this is Dr. Natalie Phillips. I am going to sign off for this episode of Just Connect. Please continue to comment on the feed because I love to see your comments and I love to learn. And I'm so glad you guys are part of the conversation. I will be back next Monday, 5:00 p.m. A few more weeks left of 2019. So we're going to hit it just thinking about what you're going to set for 2020. So thank you guys again so much for joining in to Just Connect. I will see you next week, 5:00 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. All right. See you later. Bye.